Well, I've taken the engine and the CVT, well, the rear suspension and the engine out, and cleaned them down with some gasoline and a wire brush, and then sprayed it down with a lot of soap and wiped it down. Well, I wiped it down after the gasoline, and then soaped it down really good all over the place. Do a off-camera walk around. It's all been soaped down and cleaned off in pretty good shape. It's got some corrosion on the aluminum. Other than that, it seems fine. There were some places down in it, like around in here, where there was some little rock and pebble. So he was riding it around. That was the problem too. I was cleaning off the engine. Was just covered in a layer of really fine dust from the dust roads that he was riding around up in Alaska around Juneau. So there was, because when I was in Juneau in the Coast Guard in '63, there was only 3 paved roads, and 2 of them were ripped up for sewer. So everything else was dirt. So, and I pumped up the tire, and it held. It was flat, had a flat spot on it, but it went back up. I was noticing down here on the rim, I'm getting some bubbling action. So I don't know if this is a this may be a tubeless tire. And that may have been where the it was flattened, so maybe it'll take some time before it settles back in again. Well, now that I got the, as we saw, the engine and rear frame are sitting out there drying in the sun, which has been rare this month. I think we just set a record for the most rainfall ever recorded in recorded time in Seattle, so for February. But I've got, I've got all this stuff. And I got bags of stuff, and there's more upstairs in a great big box. When I took the handlebars out, I saw there was a lot of rust and stuff in here, so I'm going to go ahead and strip everything off and then sand it down and then paint it back up, prime it and paint it, get it looking nice again. So I can do that off camera. We shall come back. Well, we're back at it again. And I took, this is the turn signal. I had to take it apart. When I took it off the handlebar, there was a bee inside that decided he wanted to winter in there, but he didn't survive very long. But the inside was like everything I'm finding in this scoot was full of dust. So he must have been riding in dusty, dirty streets. So I had to, took some soapy water and sprayed it in and then flushed it out and then took it apart and greased everything up so it's all nice and slidey and clean inside. And I had to do the same thing with the twist grip on the throttle, which had the kill switch and then the start button on it. Got that all cleaned up. And got the handlebar all primed, sanded down, primed, and then painted. I still got to clean the dirt off of this thing. So. And then I got a little, got an extra washer. There was one missing on the head, on the front fork shaft bolts. There was a washer missing. I was able to get that this morning. And then when I went to take off the trailing on the right hand side, trailing arm, it was like, what the hell's wrong with this? And so I took off mainly just to take this off to clean it up. And as I was taking off, I looked inside and these little metal pieces came out. And then this was the seal. And then these are the little, the ball bearings in there. It's a, the hell is it? A 6303 UU bearing. I guess it's still a standard bearing, but it was dry as a bone. So before the wreck, it must have been howling a lot because the cage that holds the balls apart to keep them in place was all eaten up. and it was dry and rusty inside, so it must have been screaming, but it's still a part. I need to get the bearing, and there's a seal that goes on this side and the seal that goes on that side, and I can find the parts. Now I just got to figure out which company I want to get my parts from. I might go with the Metric Parts Online, which I get my T-Max parts from. I was going to check them today to see if they carry it. I'm pretty sure they do. And but I'll put that order in once I take some more things apart and see, how much order I'm going to need. No use in paying a lot of shipping if there's going to be a lot of other stuff I'm going to need. And I got the engine back on. Let me take off the camera here. Got the engine back on, and it's pretty much cleaned up. I will probably do some more things. I got the left-hand shock on. I can't put the right one on until I get that trailing arm back in there, but it's down in there. So, and took me a while when I was putting the engine in, is okay, where do some of the wires go? And then some of these little hangers here had to have been, that doesn't like to stay in. There we go. And then the wires, getting the wires up here. I knew there was the hook. There we go. The hook in here was broad, so these 3 electrical wires, this one's got to come into the battery, but it would go to the regulator, which sets right here, so it would go down like that. So let me get on with cleaning more parts up. And I got a mystery hose here that I haven't decided where it goes yet. And another one down in here. So all good time. Well, it's a new day, and I was wondering, it's like, I got the bearing and the seals out, but what do I got to get to put them back in again? And lucky for me, the big nut that I had for the T-Max, now which one was it? I guess it was the crank for the variator nut. The top of it is 42 millimeters, and that's what this diameter is in here. So I'll be able to drive the seal in most of the way, and then when I push the bearing in, that'll push it all the way, the seal all the way up against the edge here. So I was worried about that, and I also need to make a run to Harbor Freight and see if I can get a set of the big metric sockets, from say 29 up to, I don't know, 42 or whatever it is. I don't know if they have them like that or whether I have to buy them individually or not. But I'd like to get a 32 millimeter just to torque down the head nut on the neck of the front fork, and get that one tightened down. So another thing I've been doing is I've been putting together all the stuff for the regulator, and luckily for me I marked up all these things up, and I had to clean this off. I think I might get some petroleum jelly and soak this rubber thing. It'll come off, so I can take it into the house tonight and soak it with some petroleum jelly, wipe it down to make it a little more pliable. But I had, there we go, I had it marked up also, so it fits over the top of this thing, over the regulator, and then this little thing here slips in the pocket. And then I got the solenoid. I've got to look on the specs to see whether it goes against the scoot this way or against that round way. I think it goes against the flat way, but I'll check the manual for that also. And I also took the wiring harness out and cleaned it down with a soapy rag, and that is going to be fun. I trying to decide now. I got to go upstairs into the loft and bring down the radiator, that whole radiator assembly. Just tentatively set it on the frame to see where everything goes around it. I don't want to put the wiring harness in yet, and then find out that it's got to go over or under something else when the radiator system goes on. So it'd be much easier to adapt the wiring after I got that in. And I also have something set up over here. Let me change over to show you what I did with that on the lubing the front brake cable. I wanted to get some lube into the sheath there, and I was stood around with my little 3-in-1 bottle, which you can see just to the right there and kind of out of focus, to put some oil down it. And then I saw I had some, must be probably 1/2 inch surgical tubing. And so I was using my needle nose pliers to stick inside of it and then stretch it, over the knob on the end, and then put that down around the shoulder, and I can fill that up with oil every time I think about it. And I wish I would have cut the tubing a little longer, but it might have been a little more problematic getting it to fit on there. But that's a poor man's way of having one of those adapters where you squeeze lube into a cable. I've got the handlebars back on, and I put the grips and all the switches that I cleaned out and lubed. And then you see the horn, and there's that little, that white thing is like a large terminal block where you plug in those fittings. Basically, it's each one of the slots. I'll show you another shot of that when I set up. But there's the handle for the throttle. And it took me a while to get that on until I figured out there's, on the handle part of the grip, there's a little projection that fits into a hole in the handlebar. And once I figured that out, then I was able to get, then I knew the handlebar was in the right position, and I was able to tighten the screws down on it. And that's a close-up of that little terminal strip. That was pretty clever of Honda to do that. You can't see them, but each one of those slots in behind it, in here, there's a wire or a bar that goes up and down, and in each one of these little things there's a plug like this guy that fits into the back, and then they make their vertical connections between here and the one going over here up and down through these vertical bus bars. And there's one more on the wiring harness that fits in there. It's got a slot. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's probably one for the speedometer, and I haven't gone and got that one yet. So I don't think I put tape on them. You can see this blue tape here, which I had the position written on, but I think I may have messed up when I did when I took this off to work on the handlebars. So, but I don't think it makes much difference other than the length of the cable. So we'll come back. Well, I was just up in the loft bringing some stuff down. Here's the instrument panel. I don't know if you can, let's see, where is it at? Right there. 7,083 miles is what this had. So, and I've heard that these things are quite pricey. And then I brought down the radiator assembly. I wish this was a big ruckus. That life would be so much easier. I should know better than well, it was free, I guess. So after working on the T-Max, scooters with panels can be quite the interesting pastime. So, that's probably, I don't know if that's going to be enough of this stuff for on this clip, but I'll make it that way. You know, supposedly YouTube. Well, this is not for I don't make any money off this thing. It's not monetized, but supposedly now the people that are having, you know, they come in daily or 2 or 3 times a week with, 15 minutes or something like that. They're getting kind of shunted off to the side by the big boys that come in for like 30, 40, 50 minutes, an hour, and they're paying more now by the, not so much by the views, but by the amount of time watched, because, you could have a high following number and you can have a high viewing number, but how long did they view it? Did they, zone out after a minute or two, or they watch the whole thing? So that's what they're looking at now to pay. If you're a person that has a YouTube that gets paid, they want time watched. So you got to make them longer and more interesting. So this one's not a long one, and it may not be interesting. So I'll see you guys later.